The table went quiet the second I dropped the credit card statement next to my sister-in-law's plate. Not awkward quiet, the kind of quiet where everyone suddenly remembers how to breathe manually. My husband's fork froze halfway to his mouth. His sister looked at the paper, then at him, then back at me, and for the first time in 2 years she had absolutely nothing clever to say. My name is Audrey, I'm 32. I'm a senior financial analyst at a healthcare firm in Charlotte, North Carolina, and until that Sunday dinner, I was the woman everyone in my husband's family described as sweet. Easygoing. The one who never made a fuss. Funny how people confuse silence with agreement. I'd been married to Miles for 5 years. He was a freelance graphic designer, talented but inconsistent. Some months he'd land a great contract. Other months he'd spend 3 weeks developing his portfolio, which mostly meant playing video games in his office with the door closed. I didn't mind carrying more of the financial weight. I loved him. That's what you do. What I didn't sign up for was funding his sister's lifestyle without my knowledge. Tanya was 3 years older than Miles, loud in a way that takes up oxygen. The kind of person who always had a crisis, always had a reason, always had a hand reaching towards someone else's wallet while telling you how hard her life was. She'd been divorced for about a year when it started. She had 2 kids, worked part-time at a real estate office, and according to her, the world owed her a softer landing. I felt for her at first. Divorce is brutal. I've watched friends go through it. So when Miles mentioned she needed help covering her car payment 1 month, I said sure. 1 month. $340. I remember the exact number because I pulled it from our joint checking account and thought, this is what family does. That was the first mistake. Not the money. The assumption that it would end. Months passed. I noticed our checking account dipping lower than it should have been. Not dramatically. Not in a way that screamed theft, but in a way that made me double-check my math. Groceries seemed higher. The electric bill looked padded. I'd check our account on a Tuesday and see a round number missing. 200 here, 150 there, always transferred to an account I didn't recognize. When I asked Miles about it, he was smooth. Almost too smooth. Oh, that was for the software subscription I needed for work. Or I paid the dog groomer in advance. Small lies dressed up as boring answers. The kind you don't question because questioning them feels paranoid. But I'm an analyst. Numbers are literally my job. And these numbers weren't adding up. One night, while Miles was in the shower, I opened our banking app and scrolled back 3 months. The transfers were consistent. Every 2 weeks, like clockwork, money left our joint account and went somewhere I hadn't approved. I cross-referenced the routing number. It matched an account under Tanya's name. 6 months of transfers. Just over $4,000 total. My salary, my overtime. My 50-hour weeks sitting under fluorescent lights reviewing spreadsheets so we could build savings and plan for a house. Sent to a woman who'd never once said, thank you to my face. I sat on the bathroom floor with my phone in my hand and listened to the water running on the other side of the door. I could hear him humming, like nothing in the world was wrong. And I thought very clearly, very calmly, you've been stealing from me and singing about it. I didn't confront him that night. I know myself. If I'd opened my mouth in that moment, it would have come out hot, and hot gets dismissed. Hot gets called emotional. I needed cold, I needed receipts. Over the next 2 weeks, I built a file. Every transfer screenshot. Every lie he'd told me about where the money went, documented with dates. I checked our credit card statements and found charges I hadn't made. A furniture store in Raleigh. A kids' clothing boutique. An Airbnb booking for a weekend getaway I was never invited to. All on our shared visa. All while I was working late or traveling for quarterly reviews. Tanya wasn't just borrowing money through Miles. She was spending on our card directly, which meant he'd given her the number. Or worse, he'd added her as an authorized user without telling me. I called the credit card company on my lunch break, sitting in my car in the parking garage with the engine off. The representative confirmed it. An authorized user had been added to the account 7 months ago. A woman named Tanya Prescott. I asked when the request was made. The rep read me the date. It was a Tuesday. I checked my calendar. I'd been in Atlanta that week for a conference. He'd done it while I was out of town. I thanked the representative, hung up, and sat in my car for 11 minutes doing nothing. Not crying, not shaking. Just sitting with the full weight of what my marriage had become while I wasn't looking. The thing about betrayal is that it reorganizes your memory. Suddenly, every moment you thought was normal gets replayed with new context. The time Tanya showed up to Thanksgiving in a new coat, and Miles complimented it a little too quickly. The time she posted photos of her kids' redecorated bedroom, and I thought, good for her, she's getting back on her feet. The time Miles told me we should wait another year before buying a house because the market was too hot. It wasn't the market, it was the budget. The budget I was funding and he was draining. I started sleeping differently after that, not less, just lighter. Like my body knew something had shifted and was keeping watch. The next Sunday dinner was at Tanya's apartment. She'd moved into a nicer place 6 months earlier, a two-bedroom in a complex with a pool and a gym. At the time, I'd thought her ex-husband must have been helping. Now I knew who was really paying for it. The apartment smelled like candles and new furniture. She'd set the table with cloth napkins, which was new. Miles's mother was there, their aunt, a couple of neighbors. Tanya loved an audience. I brought a bottle of wine and a printed copy of the credit card statement folded neatly in my purse. Dinner was fine. Tanya talked about her kids' school, about a potential promotion at work, about a weekend trip she was planning to Savannah. She talked a lot about Savannah, actually. The hotel she'd found, the restaurants she wanted to try. She looked at me and said, "Audrey, you should come. Girls' trip," and smiled like we were close. Like she hadn't been spending my money for the better part of a year without ever looking me in the eye about it. I smiled back. "Sure," I said. "Sounds fun." Miles relaxed. I could see it in his shoulders. He thought everything was fine. He thought I didn't know. That's the part that burned the most. Not the money, not even the deception. The assumption that I was too trusting, too sweet, too easygoing to ever look. Dessert came out. Store-bought cheesecake on nice plates. Tanya stood up and clinked her glass. She did this sometimes, made little speeches at family dinners, like she was hosting the Golden Globes. "I just want to say," she started, beaming, "how grateful I am for this family. This past year has been tough, but having people who show up for you, that's everything." She looked at Miles, "Especially you. You've been my rock." Miles smiled, humble, warm, the dutiful brother. I set my fork down, "Actually," I said, "not loud, not sharp, just clear enough to stop the room. I think you should thank me too." Tanya blinked. "Of course! Audrey, your family I'm grateful for." "No," I said. "I mean specifically for the $4,200 that's been transferred from my checking account to yours over the last 6 months. And for the $2,300 in charges on my credit card. The furniture, the clothes, the Airbnb in Asheville. I think that deserves a specific thank you." The room didn't just go silent. It collapsed. Miles's mother set her glass down slowly. The aunt looked at her plate. Tanya's mouth opened, closed, opened again. She looked at Miles like he was supposed to fix it. He looked at me like I'd pulled a fire alarm in a church. "Audrey," he said quietly, almost whispering, "can we talk about this later?" "We could have," I said, 6 months ago, when you started transferring my money without asking, or 7 months ago when you added your sister to my credit card while I was in Atlanta. But you chose later every single time, so here we are." I reached into my purse and placed the credit card statement on the table, right next to the cheesecake. 3 pages, every unauthorized charge highlighted in yellow. I'd used a ruler. Tanya stared at the paper like it might bite her. "Miles told me you were okay with it," she said, voice cracking. "He lied," I said evenly, "and you didn't ask." Nobody moved. The neighbor closest to the door looked like she wanted to dissolve into the wallpaper. Miles's mother cleared her throat but said nothing. In 5 years, I'd never once seen that woman speechless, but she couldn't find a single word to defend either of her children, because the math was right there, highlighted and dated, and numbers don't care about family loyalty. I stood up. I thanked Tanya for dinner. I told everyone I was sorry for the disruption, but not sorry for the clarity, and I walked out. Miles followed me to the car. Of course he did. His face was red, his hands were shaking, and his first words were exactly what I expected. "You didn't have to do that in front of everyone." I unlocked my car and turned to face him. "You didn't have to steal from me behind my back." But here we are, both doing things the other didn't expect. He grabbed the car door before I could close it. "She needed help, Audrey. She's my sister. She's going through a divorce. She's got 2 kids. And I have a savings goal and a retirement account I'm trying to build. And a joint checking account that I funded 90% of. And none of that mattered to you because you decided my money was your family's safety net without ever once asking me." His jaw tightened. "It wasn't that much. $6,500, Miles. I have the spreadsheet. Do you want to see the spreadsheet?" He didn't answer, sir. I got in the car and drove home alone. That night, I didn't sleep in our bed. I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop and made decisions, not emotionally, precisely. I called my bank first thing Monday morning and removed Miles's access to my personal savings account, the one I'd had since before we were married, the one I'd casually linked to our joint account, because trust felt simpler than separation. I called the credit card company and removed Tanya as an authorized user. I requested a new card number, I changed the PIN on our joint account, and then I did something I'd been putting off for 2 years. I opened my own checking account at a completely different bank. When Miles came home Monday evening, he found me at the kitchen table with a glass of water and a folder. Not a thick folder, just the important things he asked. Accountability, I said. Sit down, Sietat. I walked him through it, every transfer, every charge, every lie he'd told me about where the money went. I showed him the spreadsheet I'd built, color-coded, date-stamped, cross-referenced, with his text messages to me on those same days. On March 14th, $200 went to Tanya's account. That same evening he'd texted me that he'd paid the electrician for a panel upgrade. There was no panel upgrade. I'd called the electrician to confirm. He listened with his head in his hands. I'm not asking you to explain, I said. I already understand. You thought I wouldn't notice, or you thought I wouldn't care, or you thought that because I make more money, it was okay to redistribute it without my input. None of those options make you look good. He looked up. His eyes were wet. She's my sister, and I'm your wife. Was your wife supposed to come second to your sister's furniture budget? He didn't answer. That was answer enough. I told him what was going to happen next. Tanya had 60 days to repay the full amount. I wasn't negotiating. I wasn't offering a payment plan. She'd had months of my income without permission. 60 days with a clear number was generous. I told him I'd already separated our finances. My paycheck would go into my new account. Household bills would be split proportionally based on income, deposited into the joint account monthly, and that was it. No more open access. No more casual transfers. No more trust without verification. And if she doesn't pay, he asked, then I file a dispute with the credit card company for unauthorized charges, and she can explain to Visa why she was using a card she had no legal right to use. His face went white. The next 3 days were strange. Miles barely spoke to me. He slept on the couch, not because I told him to, but because he couldn't look at me. He called Tanya twice that I know of. Both calls were long and muffled behind the office door. I didn't eavesdrop. I didn't need to. The architecture of the situation was clear. He was trying to manage his sister's reaction without losing me, and for the first time, he was realizing those two things might be mutually exclusive. Tanya called me on Thursday. I was in my car again, parked outside a Panera, eating a soup I didn't taste. Audrey, she said. Her voice was tight, controlled, rehearsed. I think there's been a misunderstanding. There hasn't, I said. Miles told me the money was from both of you. He said you discussed it. He lied to both of us then. But you also used a credit card with my name on it to book a vacation rental and buy furniture. Did you think that was a joint decision too? Silence. I didn't think about it like that, she said quietly. I know, I said. That's the problem. She asked if we could sit down and work something out. I told her the terms were already in writing. 60 days. Full repayment. No negotiation. I can't come up with that much in 60 days, she said, voice rising. Then return the furniture, cancel the Savannah trip. Sell the Airbnb gift card you bought with my Visa. I don't care how you get there, Tanya. I care that you get there. She hung up on me. I finished my soup. The fallout was predictable. Miles's mother called that weekend. Not angry exactly. More like confused, which in her family meant the same thing. She said she'd heard there was tension and wanted to help. I told her I appreciated the call, but the situation was between me, Miles, and Tanya. She pushed. She said family doesn't keep score. I told her family also doesn't secretly drain someone's bank account. She got quiet. Audrey, she said carefully, Tanya's been through a lot. I understand that. And I funded a significant portion of her recovery without being asked, informed, or thanked. If someone had come to me honestly, I might have helped willingly, but that's not what happened. What happened was theft dressed up as family. She didn't call again. 2 weeks passed. Then 3. Miles moved from silence to negotiation. He started doing things around the house, cooking dinner, doing laundry, buying flowers. The gestures weren't for me, they were for his own guilt. I accepted the dinners and ignored the flowers. One evening he sat across from me and asked if we were going to be okay. That depends, I said, on whether you understand what you did. I do. Tell me. He paused. I took your money and gave it to my sister without asking, and he swallowed. And I lied about it. Multiple times, and, he looked at the table. And I gave her access to your credit card behind your back. That's the list, I said. Now tell me why. He couldn't. Not really. He stammered about Tanya's kids, about guilt, about how she'd always been the one in the family who struggled while he was the one who got lucky. He said he felt responsible. He said he didn't want to burden me with it. He said a lot of words that circled the real answer without ever landing on it, so I landed on it for him. You didn't tell me because you knew I'd say no, and you didn't want to hear no, so you took the decision away from me. That's not generosity, Miles. That's control. He stared at me like I'd translated something he'd been reading wrong his whole life. On day 41, Tanya made her first payment, $1,200. She sent it with a Venmo note that said partial. No message, no apology, just partial. I acknowledged it and updated my spreadsheet. On day 55, she sent another $1,500, same format, no words. On day 59, the final payment came. The remaining balance down to the cent. She'd sold the furniture. I know because Miles mentioned it offhandedly like it was weather. His voice was flat when he said it, not angry, not sad, just flat, like something had drained out of him that he hadn't expected to lose. I confirmed the total, sent Tanya a brief email acknowledging full repayment, and closed the file, literally. I put the folder in a drawer and shut it. That weekend, Miles asked me again if we were okay. We were sitting on the back porch, the air thick with Carolina humidity, the neighbor's dog barking at nothing. I don't know yet, I told him, honestly. Because I didn't. What do you need? He asked. I need to trust you, and right now I don't. That's not something you fix with flowers or laundry. That's something you fix with time and consistency and complete transparency about money, about your family, about everything. I need to see your freelance income. I need to know where every dollar goes. Not because I want to control you, but because you proved I can't trust you to be honest on your own. He nodded slowly. And I need you to understand something else, I said. If anything like this happens again, with Tanya, with your mother, with anyone, I'm not having another conversation. I'm having a conversation with a lawyer. He flinched, but he nodded. We're still married. I want to be honest about that. We're still in the same house, still sleeping in the same bed. But something shifted that can't unshift. The ease is gone. The casual trust, the unlocked doors, the assumption that we were on the same team, that evaporated the night I sat on the bathroom floor and heard him humming while my money drained into his sister's new apartment. I don't hate Tanya. I don't even hate Miles. But I learned something that year that I'll carry for the rest of my life. Silence isn't peace. It's just the space people fill with whatever they think they can get away with. And the moment you stop being silent, you find out exactly who everyone really is. Some people step up, some people step back, and some people stare at a highlighted credit card statement next to a slice of cheesecake and realize, for the first time, that the quiet woman at the end of the table was paying attention the entire time. Generosity without boundaries isn't love. It's an open door with no lock. And I finally installed the lock.